I'm Mary Schmidt-Campbell, and as the 10th president of Spelman College, I am so pleased to welcome you to Spelman's first virtual town hall of 2021. Tonight, we're broadcasting live from Reynolds Cottage in the heart of the Spelman College campus. So let me start by asking, how's everybody doing this evening? You can put your answer in the Q&A that's at the bottom of your screen. Tonight, we're expecting close to 1,000 attendees at this of our first town hall of the new year. Everybody's still coming in, so let me know how you're doing and enter it into either the chat or to the Q&A. Safe and blessed. Very well. We are doing well. Excellent. Happy New Year. Doing great. So excited for this semester. Wonderful. I'm excited. Thank you. Marvelous. Doing well. Well, that is really good to hear. It's so, as I said, it's so wonderful to be with you in the new year. If you're like me, you probably feel as if you've been living inside of a roller coaster on an unpredictable path. Here in Georgia, we've witnessed major political change. We've witnessed unimaginable upheaval in our nation's capital. And much to our dismay, our lives continue to be dictated by the unrelenting course of a global pandemic. I know that I probably speak for all of us when I say that it certainly feels as though we are all being tested. Our faith, our courage, our resilience, our patience, our fortitude, all of it is being put to the test. But in the midst of this, I am so pleased to report that our Spelman community has risen to every challenge put before us. Every day, I walk the campus and I see the men and women who come to work every day to keep Spelman going. Every day, I'm in conversation with our staff, our faculty, our senior leadership, all of them doing whatever it takes to serve our students at the highest level, to keep our workplace safe for our workforce, and to keep Spelman College healthy. Tonight, I'm going to present our plans for spring 2021. So let me take a moment to introduce two groups who were directly responsible for the plans I will present tonight. And you have listed here all of the members of our senior team and the roles that they have played in the college, and we're so grateful for their leadership. Next slide. I also want to acknowledge the over 50 faculty, students, staff, alumni who served on the Spelman College Path Forward Task Force for spring 2021. They worked day and night to research, to examine our physical space, to look at the data, to understand exactly how we would have to organize the campus to make it safe for those students who returned for residential life and for in-person classes in some circumstances. And I want to give a profound word of thanks to each and every member of the task force, and to especially thank our co-chairs, our Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost, Sharon Davies, and our Chief Financial Officer and Vice President of Business and Financial Affairs, Dawn Alston. Thank you for your extraordinary work. Next slide. Our topic for tonight is our plans for Spelman College students and families in the spring of 2021. And in the course of presenting our plans, we want to also remind ourselves of why it is that we are in the circumstances that we're in the first place. And that is because of the presence of coronavirus. We want to share with you our pre-arrival requirements for those students who will be in residence, and also share with you the medical protocols that we will expect anyone who is on campus to follow. We'll hear also from our Vice President of Student Affairs about our planned social engagements, as well the steps we've taken to preserve the health and wellness of our students, both here on campus and off campus. Tonight's town hall will go from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30. And for your convenience, it's recorded. So if you have to miss any part of it, you can be assured that you can get the recording, which will be posted later this week at spelman.edu. Future topics and upcoming town halls will include an overview for faculty and staff, a presentation for students who are attending Spelman remotely, with tips on how to take full advantage of digital learning and our digital and virtual resources. We'll also take a look in future town halls at some of the special events we have planned, as well as some of our traditional events that we would normally host during the spring semester. And we'll present town halls on other topics as needed. Tonight, please feel free to enter questions into the Q&A. I'll answer some questions throughout my presentation, and there will also be time after the presentation for additional questions. Any of your questions that are unanswered will be answered in our FAQs, which will be posted on spelman.edu. Next slide. When we started out with our planning 10 months ago, we had 3 guiding principles. And those 3 guiding principles remain today as the foundation for the decisions that we have made. First and foremost, whatever decision we make, we want to make sure that we are ensuring the health, safety, and well-being of everyone in the Spelman community. Our second guiding principle is to maintain academic excellence. And our third principle is to make sure that we keep Spelman healthy by maintaining financial sustainability. Next slide. So just as a reminder, COVID-19, this has entered our lives and has altered lives all over the world. The information that we're sharing, I should remind you, comes from the CDC, the Georgia Public Health Department, and in consultation with Morehouse School of Medicine. COVID is caused by a coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. It is called novel because it is new. It's new to us when it arrived here. There were no known treatments, no vaccines to protect against it, which is why it has been so devastating in the way that it has caught us so off guard. In the past 10 months, however, we have learned a great deal about this virus. There are now 2 vaccines with emergency FDA approval, and others are on their way. We know that the virus is transmitted through contact with another person, breathing respiratory droplets when they sneeze, laugh, cough, or simply speak. We know that someone can be infected by standing too close to someone or standing close to someone without a mask. We know that someone can be infected even if they don't show symptoms, they can be a carrier of COVID. We know that you can be infected by touching infected surfaces. In some cases, the virus can be mild. In some cases, there can be very serious illnesses, and even after recovery, very serious lingering after effects. And of course, we know it can cause death. Although older people and those with underlying conditions are most vulnerable, we now know that young people can be infected, can become seriously ill, and can have lingering ongoing effects. We have checked recently on the hospitalization rates in Georgia, and I'm very sorry to say that Georgia is now the 4th highest state in terms of hospital admissions. ICU beds are almost at capacity here in Georgia, and we will continue to monitor this data closely with the hopes that these infection rates will improve and come down and present a much better environment as we get closer to February 1st. Next slide. So what steps will Spelman take to prevent COVID? First of all, before you even arrive on Spelman's campus, you're required to have a negative COVID test 72 hours before you arrive. We're asked you also to pledge to be a caring Spelman sister, and that is to sign the caring pledge. And what is the caring pledge? It says that you will follow all the protocols that we have put into place, and you will take care to wear a mask, to wash your hands, to maintain social distance, and to not congregate in large groups, and any other steps that we deem are necessary for the safety on campus. When you first arrive on Spelman's campus, there will be a 5-day pause in the residence halls. And this pause will enable us to make sure that everybody is safe in their residence halls. And at the end of 5 days, we will test again and then expect you to be able to carry on around campus. The 3 residence halls that are going to be available are LLC 1 and 2 and McAlpin. Some questions have started to come up in the Q&A. And one of the questions is, will the financial aid office be open on move-in day? Ingrid Hayes, as head of enrollment management, can you answer that question for us?
Sure. At this time, we anticipate that we're not certain whether or not we will have staff on site for that day, but we absolutely will have, the offices will be open and available for Zoom and telephone calls. The staff, since we left campus back in March, has the capacity from their homes to take live phone calls as well as video appointments. You can make appointments now to speak with people. And in fact, we encourage you to work with your financial aid counselor ahead of moving in case there are documents that you need to get taken care of to get everything resolved. So we would encourage you to take care of those things ahead of arrival on campus.
Thank you. We've had a number of questions about parking. And so I'm going to direct this to either Dawn Alston or to Dr. Holloman. Will on-campus parking be available during the spring semester for students who drive?
I believe that on-campus parking will be available for those upper class students that have vehicles. However, I believe that the rule for first year students is that you are not allowed to bring a vehicle to campus. And I'll ask Dr. Holloman if he can confirm that.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Upper class students would be able to bring their vehicles. First year students are not permitted to have vehicles on campus.
Thank you. There's a question about the 72-hour testing requirement before arrival and the request to upload results on the health portal by noon on Friday, January 22nd. It's not possible to do both if we're moving in after noon on Monday, January 25th, which takes precedence. I'm not going to try to have us answer that question during this town hall. It's a bit of a complicated question, but it does raise the question of by what date do you have to take the test? By what date do you have to get results and report them on the portal? And what I will say is that we will send a clarification to every student who is scheduled to be in the residence hall. So it is very clear what the requirements are for the 72-hour negative COVID test. Okay. I'm looking at some of the other questions that have come in before we move. Another question is, will students have access to the gym and to kitchens? I'm assuming that the gym is our wellness center and the kitchens are the kitchens that are in the residence halls. Dr. Holloman, do you have an answer for us about access to the wellness center and access to kitchens in the residence halls?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we would not be able to have students utilize the kitchens due to mobilizing the staff that is needed to just clean the residence halls consistently, as well as, God forbid, if we have students to go into the isolation or quarantine space, there would have to be very, very rigorous cleaning there. And so we want to mobilize that for those areas, living spaces. The wellness center will not be open because it is being used for testing of employees who are coming onto campus.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next slide because there are a lot of questions that are coming up about exactly the protocols that we will have on medical protocols that we'll have on campus. There will be twice weekly testing of all students. These are not PCR tests. They will be rapid response tests. And we call those surveillance tests because they will enable us to identify if somebody in fact tests positive. And if somebody does test positive, we would isolate that student immediately. And we have the Beverly Daniel Tatum suites, which are available for students who do test positive and have to quarantine for over a period of 14 days. If a student does test positive, there would also have to be contact tracing that we would conduct to identify other potential students or faculty or staff who may have been exposed. For students who are residents, we are asking for them to do a daily symptom check via an app that will be provided to them. And as I mentioned, we are prepared to isolate or quarantine any students who are infected. There's also weekly testing of the faculty and staff. I should say that the weekly testing is already underway. We have those of us who are on campus already, we have a scheduled time and we show up for our testing every week and have been doing that now for several weeks. We will absolutely abide by the 3 W's. Wear your mask, and wear your mask so it covers your nose and your mouth. Wash your hands frequently. Now you will look around campus and you'll see lots of sanitizer dispensers and sanitizer available, and sanitizer works as well, but nothing works better than washing your hands. And of course, watch your distance. 6 feet, 2 arms lengths apart in classrooms and residence halls and dining halls, everywhere. We're asking for you to also watch your distance. I'm going to take a look now to see if there are any questions that have come up in terms of the medical protocols. Will the residence halls and rooms be cleaned and disinfected according to CDC guidelines before arrival and during stay? Let's go to the next slide. Some of the other precautions we have made are, yes, we will be conducting frequent sanitizing and disinfecting, not only every day, but several times during the day. In preparation for the return to campus, we have also made changes and improvements in ventilation everywhere where we expect students and faculty and staff to be, in classrooms, in residence halls, in study and dining spaces. We have established dining protocols for physical distancing and sanitizing. All over campus, you will notice that we have mask and sanitizer dispensers. So the answer to that question is definitely yes. We are already doing that now, even without students, and we will continue to do that when students come back on campus. I'm looking again at some of the questions that are coming up. The FAQ says parents can help with moving in for 90 minutes, but the housing dashboard says 30 minutes. Dr. Holloman, which one is correct? Do our parents get 90 minutes to help with move-in, or do they get 30 minutes?
Thank you so much, and I will definitely check that after this town hall. It is 90 minutes. You will have 90 minutes to help your child to move, your student to move their things into the residence halls. But due to the tightness of the schedule and in adherence to social distancing, we will need to, you will not be able to help your daughter set their room up as we have historically done, because we want to make sure that we are being safe and taking the right precautions. But the answer is 90 minutes. You'll have 90 minutes in your time slot to move in.
Great. And we'll make sure that that housing dashboard is updated. Thank you for calling that to our attention. We have a question about packages. How can we address sending packages to the school? Our mail center is operating and has been operating for the past 10 months. Dawn, do you want to say anything about the continued operation of our mail center?
Sure. Our mail center will continue to be open. Um, Students on campus will be able to receive packages. There have been plexiglass barriers installed in the mail center so that if your student needs to pick something up, we can make sure that physical distancing is maintained and that everyone it remains safe.
Thank you. I have another question for you, Dawn, and it's about the bookstore. When will students be able to access the bookstore before February 1st?
At this time, I don't want to give a definite date when the bookstore will be open. You can absolutely order books or anything else online at the moment. We anticipate that the bookstore will be open face to face for residential students beginning February 1st.
Thank you. Let's go to the next slide. So we know that the experience of coming back to campus during a global pandemic is going to be very different than it is when students are here under normal circumstances. But the last thing we want is for our students to be isolated in their dorm room and not able to have a feeling of a community and a feeling of a social life and just fun. So we've spent a great deal of time thinking about how we organize the spring semester so students who are residential on campus can enjoy themselves to the and be safe at the same time. So I'm going to invite Dr. Holloman to share with us some of the plans that are under development for our students who will be residential in the spring of 2021.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Campbell. My team is extremely excited about our students coming back, and we fully recognize that this has been a very difficult time. And for many of you, 189 of you, it'll be the first time that you probably have come to campus. And so we have a full slate of events that are being planned. We have about 18 events over the 3-month period of February through April. And those events will cover physical and emotional wellness activities, activities surrounding civic engagement. We will definitely be engaging students in social justice issues. We'll be having our student leaders conduct some various levels of training. We will be addressing issues such as homesickness and things of that nature to ensure that our students have a very vibrant semester. We will be doing a hybrid mix of virtual events, but we also will have a few events that will be in person that will adhere to our social distance guidelines. We are planning to have those events to be between 10 to 25 individuals. That, of course, is paying attention to the data and the science and making sure that we're looking at our safety protocols at all times. During that 5-day period, we are having what we are calling our Press and Pause week. And so that's when your students will initially come to campus and be quarantined. We are doing a student and academic affairs, what we're calling a boot camp. And in that boot camp, we will have activities such as Jaguar check-in, where there's going to be a staff member that checks in with your student throughout that week, just to make sure that they are engaged in their academic affairs, pursuits, to make sure that they are feeling okay, to make sure that they're not missing their families too much. We're going to do a Spelman virtual scavenger hunt, because many of our students have not seen the beauties of our campus, and we want them to know the history of Rockefeller Hall. We want them to know about the history of Sisters Chapel. We're going to do an event that's called NSO 2.0, where we're covering issues surrounding public safety, Title IX, some of the things that we would have done traditionally in the fall. And then we just have a slate of events that make sure that we're academically engaging our students. We work very closely with the Jennifer Johnson, the director of the Office of Student Success, Jennifer Johnson, to make sure that we're supporting our students academically so that they can be as successful as they can throughout the semester. So that in a nutshell is what we're doing for the semester. And we're just excited to be opening and having our students back on campus. Thank you, Dr. Campbell.
Thank you. I just want to stress there are lots and lots of questions that are coming in about the COVID, when exactly to take the test, because people have to schedule those tests. They're very difficult to schedule and very difficult to get the, sometimes very difficult to get the results back. So I will say to everybody on here, we will make sure that we get explicit instructions about the COVID test out to you, because we know that it's imperative that you be able to schedule that test and schedule at a time that it is acceptable for you to come on to campus. There's several questions about in-person classes versus remote. And I'm going to ask our provost to talk a little bit about how we are handling in-person classes for residential students and in-person classes for commuter students. Sharon Davies, can you share with us how we're looking at those in-person classes?
Yes, President Campbell, I'm happy to do that. Because of the continuing threat of the pandemic, the college decided to allow Spelman faculty the right to elect whether they would offer their classes in person or online. So the faculty have made those decisions for themselves, and a very, very high percentage of our faculty have chosen to offer their classes online virtually. So our students, the vast majority of our students, will be taking their classes in the spring online. And that is true even for our residential students, although some of our residential students will be, may have a class or two in person. There will be others who will be taking their classes online and also connecting with their professors in office hours online. Our commuter students who are already registered for classes where a faculty member has chosen to offer it in person will be allowed to come onto campus, but will be expected to abide by all of the health and safety protocols that you were talking about a few minutes ago, including being tested 2 times a week, universal mask wearing, and so on. So we have been advising Spelman students to prepare themselves for another very unusual semester where most of their classes will be online, but we are doing what we have to do in order to keep all of our communities safe.
Thank you. I have a question here about that says, can you clarify if all students will be returning to campus? And the answer to that question is they will not all students will be returning. As a result of our task force work, we determined that the upper limit number of residential students was 350. And I believe we have somewhere around 270 residential students who will be on campus. In addition to that, we have, as our provost has said, we have allowed our faculty to elect whether or not they feel safe teaching in person. And so for those faculty who are teaching in person, if you are registered for that course, you can come to campus as a commuter student or take that course in person as a residential student. But for all other students, until circumstances change, we would not be able to allow students to come on campus. Now, as I say, as circumstances change, we have begun for 65 and over in Georgia vaccination, but the rates of infection are high. We will be monitoring the situation very carefully, and if there are changes, we might likely change who might be able to come to campus. But for now, it's the residential students who are registered, and it's those students who are taking classes with faculty who are teaching in person. There's a question also that came up. I don't know whether this is Ingrid Hayes or our provost, but the question is, how do we know if our class is being taught in person?
You
Who would
can
like to
get
answer
that. Sure, you can get that information from your professors. Your professor will be able to tell you whether they have elected to teach the class in person or not. Or you can get that information from the registrar's office or the undergraduate dean's office, Dean Pettisclo.
Thank
Also,
you.
so I believe you can also see it yourself on your registration schedule. If you go into self-service banner, there's a line for each course that tells you each place, or it tells you the time, the location, and under location, if it is in person, it will give you the campus location, the physical location of the building. Otherwise, it will give an indication that it's being offered remotely. So it should be very clear there. If you have any challenges with that, please reach out to the registrar's office, but it should be very clearly outlined in your registration, in the self-service banner registration module.
Ingrid, while we have you talking, there's a question for you. When does registration officially start for virtual students?
Registration it began several weeks ago, so registration is active now. Students who are eligible, who don't have a prior balance, should be able to go into the system right now. If there is a student who is unsure of how to do that, then please reach out either to your academic advisor or the dean's office or the registrar's office. Any of those three offices should be able to assist you in getting registered.
Thank you. And for students who are residential, the question has come up, will students be able to freely leave campus following the 5-day pause period? Dr. Holloman.
Yes, thank you. And I also have the question about the 90 minutes as well. Yes, students will be able to leave the campus. There will not be any restrictions on students in terms of them exiting the campus or visiting our sister campuses. There is a restriction on visitation. Students will not be able to have visitors in their room during the semester. and even within their residence halls, at least initially starting out, we just want to make sure that we are mitigating risk to the virus as much as possible. Um, the 90-minute time slot confusion, what housing was doing was breaking out that 30-minute to say you have 30 minutes to unload everything that you need to have taken into the building. But the entire time would be 90 minutes that parents would be able to help their students into the building.
Thank you. So we have a lot of questions that are coming in about refrigerators and dining and meal plan. So talk to us a little bit, either Dr. Holloman or Dawn, about what our plans are for the dining hall. What are our dining hall plans?
So we actually met, we had a great meeting today. We have had meetings, several meetings leading up to this. The dining hall will, of course, that first week will be grab and go functions, which means that they will have prepackaged salads, prepackaged sandwiches. If students are going to the warm food line, there will be someone that will issue the food and pack it for them, and so that they would be able to take it out. Starbucks will also be open. We will only have one cafeteria that we will be using, which is the Manley cafeteria, so that we can adequately socially distance. I went in there today. They've already separated the tables, so we'll have some small ability for students to dine in the residence hall. Dr. Campbell wanted to make sure that we definitely had that in a sense of building community. But we also have the markers in place. We have the sneeze guards up, all of the safety precautions. The Airmark staff will be in the same safety rotation as the rest of the Spelman employees. Um, and one thing that I think is really important is that if students are in the isolation or quarantine section, their meals will be delivered to them. It will be a at one time a delivery that will have all the meals there. But those spaces in the BDT suites have mini micro fridges so that students would be able to heat the food up and they would be able to keep their food cold.
Joe, thank you for mentioning refrigerators. We have a lot of questions about refrigerators. Because we cannot utilize communal refrigerators, can we bring our own wireless battery-powered refrigerators? I know there are some issues with electricity, which is why I'm specifically asking about wireless. I'm stating this question, but I'm going to take this question back to our facilities and maintenance. I am not familiar with wireless battery-powered refrigerators or how they work or what they need to remain in good operation, but we'll investigate that. And that's a question we'll have to answer online in our FAQs. But thank you for asking it. There are lots of questions about the use of refrigeration in the residence halls. There are questions also about how the testing is done. Oral, nasal, do the students do the testing themselves, or is there a nurse to do it? At first, it will be done as nasal testing. These are the rapid response tests. There is some possibility that we will get self-administered tests. Dawn, do you want to talk about some of the testing plans that we have?
Sure. Right now, as Dr. Campbell mentioned, we have the Binax rapid tests, which are done through the nasal swabs, and they will be for students, will be administered in student health services. As the semester progresses, There may be an opportunity for self-administration. The plan at the moment is for the student health services, nurses and staff to continue to administer those tests. The testing frequency at the moment is 2 times per week. However, the frequency will really be dictated by the positivity rates on campus. So it may change as the semester progresses, dependent on how many positive cases we have. I think that answers the question.
Thank you, Dawn. So there is a comment here, a comment and a question. California schools are not returning to school until the fall, and the state is second in COVID cases. What assures parents that the student will be safe from the virus that's spreading in Georgia with the new strain there? This is a question that goes, I think, exactly to the point that I made earlier. We are monitoring the circumstances every single day. The introduction of a new strain, a new variant, is something that has come up recently. It wasn't present when we first mapped out our plans. And so we are watching these circumstances very carefully, because it may be that circumstances will dictate for us to make some change in our plans. So I do want to be very honest and candid with everybody on this call. The plans that we have now are based on the data and research that we had been doing. But if the data changes radically, or if the circumstances change radically in Georgia, we may have to change our plans. A question has come up about the relationship of students to other institutions in the Atlanta University Center. Will Spelman students be allowed to enter the other institutions in the Atlanta University Center? Either the provost or Ingrid or Dr. Holloman, if you have an answer to that.
Yes, yes, you would be able to engage with your peers at the other institutions. However, each of our residence facilities have a no visitation policy in place during this spring semester. But outside of that, you would be able to go to the other campuses, and you would be able to interact with your peers at sister institutions.
Thank you. We have several questions that have come up about whether students who live off campus can come to campus and get tested. I'm assuming that these are students other than the students who have classes in person. So I guess what is being asked is, if I'm looking for a testing site, is Spelman College going to be a testing site? Right now, we don't have plans for Spelman to be a testing site other than for those who come to campus. So right now, we don't have plans. If that changes, we will certainly let you know. I have a question about students being allowed to leave the campus to go to work. Dr. Holloman, do you want to answer that?
Yes, they would be able to leave to go to work. We don't have any restrictions on their coming in and leaving off campus. We do, however, are being very strict about our safety protocols, and we are strictly enforcing the guidelines that we've set at the college in terms of wearing masks, large gatherings, and so I would just we want to make sure that we are continuing to promote safety within our community.
Thank you. Another question, there are lots of questions about visitors. This one is, are visitors allowed after the 5-day quarantine? As Dr. Holloman noted, at no time will there be visitors in the residence halls. Dr. Holloman, do you want to speak to more broadly about any visitor policy in general?
No, except that this semester we will not, we just do not have um, the flexibility of being able to continue the visitor policy that we've always had in place. And so this semester, as challenging as that may seem, we will not be able, you will not be able to have visitors in the residence halls. And and it includes family members. At times we've had family members, sisters, or that will want to come in and visit. So we will not be able to do that. But we are planning on a full, slate of events to keep our students actively engaged in as safe atmosphere as possible.
Thank you. There's several questions that have come back up about packages being mailed, and what I see the logic of that. There seem to be some families that would like to be able to mail um, in advance and to know if the mail center will be open on move-in day, so they could send the boxes in advance and then pick them up on move-in day to be able to move in. Uh, Also, a question about whether the mail center accepts Amazon Prime deliveries in addition to other carriers. And I can say yes for that because I am a recipient of many of those deliveries. But Dawn, can you answer the question about packages being mailed in advance and if the mail center will be open on move-in day?
Sure. Yes, the mail center will be open on move-in day. We are actually in the process of working out some procedures just to make sure that we maintain physical distancing and safety as students have to come and pick up packages if you are pre-mailing your packages to campus.
Thank you. Several questions have come up about whether students can order food to be delivered to them on campus. Dr. Holloman,
Uh,
which includes also grocery delivery, I should add. That was added on.
uh, let me get back with that question, Dr. Campbell, and I would encourage people to uh, keep a lookout on the frequently asked questions. We'll cover that there.
Okay, thank you. So there are also questions for the class of 2021. Class of 2021, of course, are our seniors. And some of them will actually be in residence on campus, but they're asking about the traditions for the class of 2021. And those are the spring semester is when we have some of our most cherished traditions. We have Founders Day, we have Class Day, we have Baccalaureate, we have the March Through the Arch, we have commencement. All of these are the typical traditional ceremonies that mark the end of the semester. And so from April right through May through commencement, the campus in normal circumstances is just rich with all of these wonderful traditions. We are going to devote a town hall exclusively to a conversation about our plans for commencement, our plans for all of our ceremonies and special events, and invite all of our seniors to take part in it, how you will get your photos done, all of that. So we're going to devote an entire session so that we can discuss in great detail and have our seniors ask any questions that they have to ask about how that final semester is going to be managed in the middle of our global pandemic. Another question about the mail center, and that is, how are the students to handle the packages upon receipt? Do they disinfect the surfaces of the packages in any way? What is the protocol to mitigate risk? Dawn, do you want to talk about any of the protocols that would be used as packages come in? Are there going to be any sanitizing or disinfecting protocols for those packages?
Sure. Our mail center team typically receives the packages and they do sit in the mail center for a certain amount of time, and I will have to come back to you with the amount of time. The mail center team actually handles all packages with gloves. We will likely also make gloves available in the mail center to students and others that are picking up packages as well. We also disinfect and sanitize that area the same way that we would disinfect and sanitize very routinely and very frequently in other areas of the campus.
Thank you. There are a large number of questions that are coming in about protocols for the dining hall, including how is the dining area remaining safe? Is there a dine-in option? I assume by dine-in, you're meaning, can I eat in my room? Do you have to always return? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have to always return to your room to eat? And recurring questions about if there is no kitchen, can they use the microwave? So let me make a distinction. When you first come to campus, there is a 5-day pause, and you will not be able to go to the dining hall to other than to just grab and go, to get your meal and to take it back to your room to dine in. After the 5-day pause, you will be able to go to the dining hall, get your food, and eat your food in the dining hall. The question is, because the question came, do you always have to return to your room to eat? So the answer to that is no. You will have the opportunity to eat in the dining hall. We have done some reorganization of the tables. We have put up some plexiglass barriers, and we are making it a safe environment for you to be able to dine in the dining halls. There's a recurring questions about if there's no kitchen, can they use the microwave? Dr. Holloman, or will there be microwave access in the residence halls?
Based on the electrical grid, as was stated earlier, we don't have the ability for microwaves and refrigerators in each of the rooms. Let me circle back with the team, however, to see if there are microwaves in some of the common areas. I don't think that there are, but let me circle back on that and get that answer out.
So while you're talking, we have a question about the Peloton workouts, and I will tell you personally, I have participated in them. They are terrific. Every Spelman student is entitled to a 2-year subscription. And if you have not gotten your Peloton workout, Dr. Holloman, who can they contact to make sure that they have the capacity to sign up?
As everyone knows, I'm a huge Pelotoner, so you can reach out to me at dholloman@spelman.edu, and I will make sure that we forward your information to the appropriate person in the wellness center to make sure that they receive their registration.
Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, please? We still have a little bit of our presentation left. There have also been some concerns about how does Spelman intend to respond to stress and anxiety? And Dr. Holloman, can you speak a little bit about what resources will be available in the health center to help our students cope, whether they're here in person or they are learning remotely?
Absolutely. We were very engaged throughout the fall with our counseling center. We used both the tele-mental health platforms as well as in the health clinic. We use the telehealth platform. And so those will also be continue to be extended throughout the spring semester. For students that are on campus, the health clinic at the moment is working on the schedule for your testing. Students will be tested twice weekly. So we're working on that scheduling, but they also are factoring in there opportunities when students may need to come into the health clinic. In terms of the mental wellness, we're going to remain using the telemental health services that we have in place. But that went very well over the fall semester. And so we are excited about being able to expand that, feel very confident about expanding that into the spring semester.
Thank you. Next slide. So I also want to share with you that we have learned that there will be support from the federal government for additional stimulus funds. As was the case last year, some of those funds will be available in the form of student support. We do not have the amount yet. It has not been communicated to us, but as soon as it is, we will make sure that you know that every student knows how much will be available, and we will get those funds distributed as soon as possible. We're at, next slide, I believe we're at the Q&A, and the Q&A has been going on throughout the entire presentations. And I will, one of the questions that has been asked is, how often will faculty and staff be tested, as they will be leaving the campus daily, which could potentially lead to contracting the virus? That is very much the case. We will have lots of precaution on the campus, but we are allowing students who are in residence to leave the campus. Faculty will be going back and forth from the campus. Staff will be going back and forth from the campus. I should point out that for the past 10 months, that has been the case for about 100 people who work on campus every single day. And within that, we have had very few cases of infection. The key here is that we have to absolutely follow those medical protocols everywhere we go. We have to wear the mask, we have to wash our hands, we have to watch our distance. And that is a reality. Those are the very best preventive steps that all of us can take. There are still many questions that are still coming in from our many attendees that are with us this evening. I'm looking at the attendee list, and I think we've got about 600 attendees. And I'll try to answer one more question before we have to close down for this evening.
President Campbell?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry. This is Ingrid. I just wanted to clarify a statement I mentioned earlier before you take your last question.
Okay.
I received a few messages in the Q&A about finding out whether or not courses are on campus or not. It appears that in some places, students can still see the original physical course location, even if the course is being taught online. So I just wanted to acknowledge that here so people will know that I'm working with the registrar's office to confirm how that information is showing up so that it will be more clear to students there. So if they'll just give me a day or so to get that resolved, we're working on it.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. That's a very key point. So we will make sure that that's very clear so that students can look at their self-serve banner and see the location of their course. And they are also always free also to confirm with your faculty member who is offering. So we are now at 6:29. And so we have come to the end of our town hall. We, as I said, had close to 600 attendees. We have had over 250 questions. Actually, I'm looking and it looks more like closer to 300 questions that have appeared in the Q&A. So we have a lot of questions. Some of these are duplicates, but we have a lot of questions that we will have to answer in our frequently asked questions. We have come to the close of our first town hall. Our next town hall will be next week. And it will be, the focus will be on faculty and staff at that time. The town hall after that will focus on our remote students who are learning virtually. So as we draw this town hall to a close, I want to ask you to continue to ask questions and raise concerns. Some of you have emailed me individually and personally, and other members of our senior team and staff, please continue to do so. We're here to listen to you and consider carefully all of your concerns. The presence of coronavirus has created a great deal of uncertainty. And I do want to caution that our plans could change without much warning. But as our plans continue to develop, you will be hearing from us in the form of messages, future town halls, and you will be hearing from me and other members of the Spelman senior leadership. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Be safe, be well, and keep the faith. Good night.